All right. A very good morning, friends. My colleagues from Penang and also in Selangor. It's a pleasure to have all of you here today with me. It is 9 a.m. sharp. We'll be starting our session. For today's session, we are going to have a workshop and a basic discussion on online assessment and the best practices of online assessment itself. Now, the whole journey today will take roughly 2 to 3 hours. I will give you a break in between for you to get a little bit of a breather. Okay, and we should then complete by 12, maybe 12 plus, a bit plus minus, depending on how the whole thing goes through. All right. So I'm happy that all of you are with me today on this journey. It is going to be one that is very, in a way, related to the practices that we do in our classes at the current moment. As you know, UOW Malaysia KDU is a blended organization. All right, being blended means a minimum percentage of our courses that we deliver needs to be of virtual or online kind of aspect. Okay. Now, when we look at blended doesn't mean only online. All right. What we look at blended is basically a mixture. Some will call it blended, some will call it hybrid. It is a mixture of the traditional with using technology. The thing about using technology is the scope and change of technology is so rampant. All right, what I can tell you today or what we are practicing today will be obsolete tomorrow. There is so much new things coming in, so much new technology applications and whatnot that has enhanced the whole delivery of the message, that what we do to the student, how we deliver our message. Because at the end of the day, our goal is to deliver that message, to deliver that knowledge into the student so that the student will be able to achieve the learning outcome. All right. So when we look into this process itself, what we are currently doing is just a method or a tool. Lecturing is a tool or a method. A MOOC style, online applications, these are just methods and tools to ensure that the knowledge is passed on to the student so that the student achieves their learning outcome, and students will be able to demonstrate competency when given the correct assessment. All right, when given the correct assessment. So what we have gone through is we have gone through the delivery part of it, how it could be delivered or how it should be delivered in our previous lesson or previous workshop to ensure a more efficient learning by the student. But all of this comes down to how do we ensure or how do we verify that students have achieved that particular goal itself. All right. Students can obviously say, sir, I understand. But just by saying I understand is not enough. So there must be a certain type or level or a method of assessment that will validate students' achievement. Now, validation of students' achievement is critical, all right, especially when we look into the achievement of learning outcomes and in our practice of outcomes-based education, because we're looking at the outcome. So how do we ensure that the students achieve that outcome, or how can we, in a way, quantify or qualify that students have achieved? There must be a good method of assessment. Now, when we talk about assessment in a very simple context, it is a process of, and when we use assessments, when the process of assessment is to validate the student's achievement, basically there must be tools to use in this context. And these tools that we use need to meet certain criteria. Okay, like in our general context, if we would like to quantify and qualify weight, we use a weighing machine that has been, in a way, controlled or meets certain regulation. Okay, if we want to qualify or quantify distance or length, we use a ruler. All right, and that ruler must be fixed. 1 feet or 30 centimeters must be fixed. It cannot be my ruler 30 centimeters is like this, your ruler 30 centimeters is like this, shorter. So it cannot, that must be fixed. It must be valid. All right, it must be in a way being able to use that particular tool in a constant manner to ensure the outcome of the student itself. So this is what we are going to do today. We are going to look into assessments in general, in a general context. So we will need to speak on matters pertaining to formative and summative and whatnot. Then later, we will only go into the online assessment best practices. Now, please take note, a bit of a caveat over here. Being best practices, it evolves. There is a constant evolution of online assessments. Okay, what we do today, what we do tomorrow, and it goes on. It is constantly evolving. However, the basic principles will still maintain the same. Okay, the basic three principles of what an assessment should achieve will always be the same. Okay, so that is what we are going to do today. All right. Okay, I hope this is going to be very, very productive and also beneficial to all of you. All right, so today's LO, okay, like everything, we start with basic LOs. So we are going to look at differentiate between formative and summative assessment. Because when we talk about assessment over here, it's very important for us to understand the two contexts. I know many of you would have heard of this, but I just want to further emphasize because I feel we don't give enough, in a way, praise to ourselves on the amount of formative feedback, formative review, and eventually the formative assessment that most of us do in class. So now I want you to be more cautious on the actions that we do in class and how important those things that you are actually doing, the formative side of it. The formative side will eventually guide and structure students' thought to ensure achievement of the summative part of it. The summative part, as you all understand, is the one that goes into the grades of the student. That is the summative part of things. Then also we are going to identify issues of online assessments. Okay, doing assessments online, pretty much different compared to if we do it in a physical sense. In a physical sense, even how stringent we are, guys, how stringent, SPM, how stringent, A levels, how stringent, even our exams in UG or in Penang, okay, in a hall with people walking around and so on, still got students cheat. Okay, so basically, so we are going to look into what about in an online environment. What kind of challenges then we will face? Okay, but I won't look into so much on the regulation part to make it perfect. No, we are looking into the process of coming up with online assessments. Looking into the process itself, because let me tell you, over here in UOW Malaysia KDU, what we practice or what we use as one of our tools is the exam.net. All right. Over in our parent company, over in Australia, they use Procteria, all right, which is a different application. Then in various different campuses, they use different tools. Now, what I'm trying to say here is this. The tool itself does not make or does not mean a perfect system. Okay, the tools, or like all tools, are there to assist us. It is how we practice it, how we structure the assessment, that it is critical to ensure validity of the assessment itself. Okay. Now, it is important for us to remember that student assessment should be consistent. I think this is the first thing that we all need to understand, the red part there. All student assessments should be consistent with the program goals and intended learning outcome. So our assessment that we structure or whatever we do needs to be consistent with the program learning outcome, program goals, and of course the CLOs, the course learning outcome. So if we are looking in a more micro environment, which is our course itself, then it is important for us to see that in our course itself, all the how do we select the correct assessment will be determined by the CLO. It means if I am teaching marketing and my colleague is teaching pastry, then due to the CLOs, what is supposed to be achieved by the student, the assessment will also differ. Okay, will also be different. It will not be a generic assessment. Not everything will be final exam, what do you call that? One final exam, two tests, and one presentation. No. It varies. It varies based on the learning outcome. What is the intended learning outcome? Okay, so even in the context of OBE, it is very clear. OBE is you set learning outcome first. You set learning outcome, you set assessment, then only we determine what is the method of delivery. Okay, so that is the first thing that we all should understand. All of us should understand over here. Okay, so as learning outcome varies, then we see the assessment also varies. Okay, so what we see in today's aspect is a demand for more holistic way of learning. Okay, so we are looking at things such as like leadership skill, we are looking at ethics and whatnot. So in that context, if we look at our graduate attributes and also the 5 clusters, it should then trigger something in our mind that the traditional aspect of assessment, like your examination, your sit down examination, may not be the best method of evaluating this kind of skills or this kind of outcomes that we want the students to achieve. So this should already hint something in our mind, which goes hand in hand with the encouragement of official documents, a ministry and whatnot, to state that we should be a little bit more creative in the way that we assess our student. All right. Now, even if you look at UOW in Australia itself, they have also in a way an understanding now, especially due to what has happened in the past 2 years, to go out from the traditional aspect of sit-down examination, because what they see is the demand of our graduates is evolving. Okay, the demand of the skills required for our graduates are things that are more into the adaptability of the person. So the sit-down examination may not be the best method. Okay, so other kinds of assessment could be a better method. Now, this is where it becomes a little bit challenging, even as a practitioner for over 20 years, like myself. It is easy to do exams, guys. Easy to mark exams, okay? It is actually more difficult and more difficult to justify presentations, because those things are more fluid, okay? Students' presentation, group work, assessing and in a way giving grades in a summative manner on group work is actually not easy, because you need to be there to really observe what is actually being done for us to in a way do or give the correct marks. Okay, so it is actually not easy. And there is if you're looking at a group of 50 people in your class, and you're looking at an assessment that it is continuous, then your observation of the 50 must be in a way fair to all 50. All right, you cannot give one less time than the other, because as we assess them, there must be a level of fairness and equity between all. Now, if it's a written exam, 70% final exam. Now, why do I say 70%? Because I remember in the early 90s, in the 90s, when I was doing my undergraduate study overseas, my exam, 70% final exam. I got one paper, 70%. I screw up that paper, sayonara, babe. Okay, so that was how it was, 70%. So during that time, it was accepted. But in today's aspect, things have changed. In the past 30 years, things have really changed, 25 to 30 years. So even the assessment. So now there is a changing in a way impact on us teachers, How do we be more creative in a way and we are able to assess our students in the correct manner? Oh yes, yeah, no problem. Kin has just joined. No problem, Kin. I understand your audit, which I was supposed to join also. All right. I've excused myself from the audit. Okay. No problem, Kin. See you. Okay. I'm blessed to have this training today in the morning, because if no, my schedule shows that I'm supposed to be an auditor. Evil, right? Okay, anyway, just joking with you all. All right, so this is basically what it is. So you have to understand on this. Evolution, changing demands of the student. Why student need to change? Employer change. Employers demand change. Okay, because of this employers demand change, students' knowledge demonstration needs to evolve also. Assessment method also need to evolve. Okay, because now we are assessing different things. Okay, I won't like to be a person to be responsible for assessing ethics in my student, because it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be crazily difficult. Okay, get this, guys, all right. Now, assessments plural, validate students' achievement of their CLO. So it is a case of validation. Validation is a very, very important aspect over here, ladies and gentlemen. Very important. You cannot just take what is said by the student. You need to validate it. Validate it means bukti. Okay. See, I really get myself involved a lot in Appel. So everything in Appel, if for those of you who know, Appel C is bukti, bukti, bukti. justification, bukti, evidence. So when we talk about an assessment also, the assessment must be in such that it will validate students' achievement. So if there are 4 CLOs over there, okay, then we have to make sure that the assessments that we put in or we use validates students' achievement. Okay, what does it mean by student achieving CLO 1? If he does or this person goes through this assessment and the assessment shows after the assessment that this person is a 62 marks, and a 62 marks means, let's say, C plus. So what does a C plus mean? So this assessment must validate that. Okay. A stringent process of selecting and validating the proper assessment method needs to be available and implemented. That is why when we set our exam papers, we have moderators. All right. What is this aspect of moderation? Moderation is to ensure that at the first stage, before even the students take the assessment, it needs to be validated. Now, for many of you here, for those of you who have read the recently approved staff handbook, academic staff handbook, you will see now that moderation is required across the board for all assessments above 30%. Yes, I know. Please read. Okay, there is a change. Previously in UG, Penang, I know you all have been very good. You all have been doing moderation for assessments already, or and so on. But in UG, we used to do moderation for final exam. Now it is any assessment above 30%. Okay, the reason why this is required is because there is a big change in assessment methods of the courses. Recently, there has been a lot of change from very traditional exam based have now switched over to continuous assessment projects and whatnot. So when this switch happens, there must be a level of check and balance in us in delivery to ensure that whatever assessment that we use over there meets the criteria or meets proper validation purposes and processes that can assess the student properly. Okay, so we are never ever is it said that a 40% final exam carries more marks or carries more weight than a 40% presentation or project. No, it is the same. All right, it is just the method, all right, of delivering and the method of demonstrating students' ability. Okay, so that is why now moderation is required there. Okay, if anything that is above 30%, there is a requirement for moderation. We need to make sure that the assignment that has been chosen by the lecturer, it is not something that is just put in a haphazard manner. Oh, I just put an assignment over there. Okay, fine, asalkan the student do, I'm happy. No, because now that is critical. The critical part now is because we want to make sure that maybe what the LO, the learning outcome for that particular assessment or assignment is group work. Okay, ability to communicate between individuals or between different parties. That is something critical because as you can see in our graduate attributes and also one of the critical aspect in the clusters, it is that. So we have to make sure that the assessment that is given validates students' achievement on that manner. Okay, so this is the changes that we do or the changes that management has done is not to make life difficult for our colleagues, for all of you. No, it is because the changing nature of assessment. And why is this changing nature of assessment? The customer, the employers who hire our students want students with different kind of skills. So if different kind of skills cannot use the same tool lah, must use different kinds of tool. So that is what it is. It's not easy. We all don't want to change one, but have to change. Because that is what is changing. Okay? I hope you all get a clearer picture over there. Now, when we talk about assessment design, okay, may it be presentation, report, or whatever, there are certain key steps over here lah. So there is, of course, there is this in the middle continuous improvement. That means if your assessment is not effective this semester, please don't use it next semester. You can evolve, all right? It can change. The type can be the same, but the question, the way it has been delivered can change. Okay. Step 1, define results to be measured. What do you want to measure in this assessment? All right. What do you want to measure? So if you're under your CLO 1, it is shown there a presentation because under your table 4 already put there already, right? Not okay. Those things over there. So you need to understand what is to be measured. Number 2, identify data required and sources. So for you to measure that, what kind of data do you need? For you to measure presentation skill, for you to measure communication skill, for example, you want to measure communication skill. What kind of data do you need to measure communication skill in the student? And what source? From where? From where do you get this data? Number 3, review existing assessment methods. So the existing method that you have could be you as a lecturer. Last semester, this is what you did. Okay, this is already data that is already available. Okay, this is what you did. So how effective or how not effective was it? Then you go to number 4, define additional methods and measure. Is this still valid? If valid, we use lah. It's good mah. This tool has been good. Guys, many of your assessment is already very good already, you know. All right, the one that you're practicing, because you have gone through a lot of trial and error. You have gone through a lot of challenges, and you have tweaked it to a way that it is proper. However, as I want to stress, the market is changing. So if it is still the same questions, same method that you've been used in the past 15 years, then ladies and gentlemen, I would like to suggest a re-evaluation of your assessment methods. Okay, so that is number 4. Define additional methods and measures. All right, methods, cara, measures is what kind of things that you want to evaluate inside. And then it goes down to number 5, implement and evaluate. You implement this assessment, then you evaluate good or no good, good or no good. Okay, so first question, some of you in your mind, yep, as you said lah, table 4 we cannot change mah. We are asked to follow table 4. Betul, tak salah. But table 4 is a document that is alive. It is not dead. Okay, when do we change table 4? Can any of you tell me when do you, in a way, edit or change information in table 4? Where? When do you do it?
Curriculum review.
Very good, curriculum review. And when must you do it?
Every year.
Very good. Itulah. Got do or not? That's the next question.
Yeah, we do.
Very good. This is what we want to hear. We do. This is what. Now, every year must do curriculum review. Every year. Doesn't mean every year must change. If you review, baik, no issue. Continue. If you review, certain things change, we change accordingly. We review, we edit, we evolve on that table 4 itself. Normally, best practice, every year must do review, but every cycle, that means every batch, if your degree is 3 years, so every 3 years, there should be a real sit down and there must be some changes. All right, that is called every cycle. Okay, so this is very important. And during that time, when you review, as you review, then we see, still critical. Our PEO still got changed or not? Then if our PEO got changed, PLO will change. If PLO got changed, then CLO got changed. Because if PLO change, CLO will evolve. Okay, due to requirements to meet the PLOs. So when there is evolution or change in the CLOs, individual courses, what we see is assessments could change. Weightage of assessments would change. That is then you will need to change assessment design. Then you will change assessment design. So this is actually important. So I would like to request for all of your help. Go if for those courses or those of the programs that haven't gone through curriculum review, program review, some will call it. Please speak to your PLs, speak to your ADHs, and to say that maybe it's about time lah. It's about time. Now, it doesn't have to be in December only. Traditionally, we like to do it in December, but it could be done anytime. For certain schools, their academic year, maybe they call it August. Okay, so before the August-September intake, then they will do their curriculum or program review. Also can, there's no issue to it one. But I know most schools would like to have a new slate before January 1st. The reason is because of our system over here. Our system got default fee, betul lah? Our default fee is given to A and B prior to the 1st of January of the following year. So normally it is 4 months before. Default fee will impact what the student pay lah. Okay, so If you already send default fee to A and B, and then they already print out all the brochure, marketing, tell students everything, and suddenly you do a program review after that, then there is good. Let's say you change credit. You can change credit, guys. You can change credit amount. You can change credit amount. You can change courses. That means courses subject. You can throw away subject and you put in new subject. You can make subject bigger. You can make subject smaller. You can even change the name of your program. Let me tell you that you can even change all of these things. All right. However, the higher the level the change, the more percentage of changing, more than 30%, you need to inform MQA lah. Even though in the most simple one, the changing of credit, all right, let's say you're moving a 4 to a 3 and another one up and so on, it will impact fees. So that is why, based on what my observation is, some schools like to do their program review not in the calendar year, end of the calendar year, but they choose an academic year on their own. Faham, because of the operational side of things. Okay, but there's no issue to it lah. So sometimes these kind of things we need to see. Okay, and my advice is don't do a program reviews in a way that, let's say, let me enter. Let's say you have many programs. You have many programs. It is good to do all concurrently. Okay, because now there are a lot of programs that are cross teaching. Okay, bachelor in marketing, maybe and then bachelor in business. Some of the subject sure got cross one. So it is good because you change one here, it will impact that. It may impact the other one. So it's good to do it concurrently. If you do one first, then before you do the other, you change here, no change. This one will make noise. Hey, how come you change? And then how does it impact? They will need to do also. So that there could be a lot of this kind of things happening lah. I'm telling you based on what I observe, based on what I advise schools to do lah. Okay, because this is under the operational side, it can be important. Okay, and I can see many of you here may be PLs and also decision makers, so it could be good to do that. All right. Which I want to bring one point up. It may be divesting a bit over here. One of my colleagues asked, Gabe, I am doing exam paper review. However, there is no similar skilled individuals in my school that can review this paper. Okay, because when you're doing vetting, exam paper vetting or assessment vetting, you need people who are skilled. Okay, don't ask me to vet something on accounting. I am not skilled. I have no authority to speak on the subject matter. I got no authority. You want me to do vetting on the spacing can lah, but no authority. So she was asking, hey, how like that? Then I said, basically, it is okay if you need assistance inter-school. If hers is mathematics, so if there's another mathematician is in SCCM, okay, let's say in computing school that can assist, it is okay. You can have cross school vetting because we are looking at expertise. No point, as they say, flogging a dead horse or getting feedback from a person who is not skilled. All right, let's say I am in her department and there is no other people, and she say, okay, Gabe, you just vet for me lah. Then it's no justice because I got no knowledge on that topic. So this is just something which it just happened over the past few days. So that was my advice to them lah. Okay, we need to understand sometimes you are so skilled in your subject that in your school only you teach. So that is where it becomes a bit unique lah. Okay, so this is an example. I just extracted out from one of the table 4s. So just to show. So under CLO1, describe the nature of learning strategies and widen their repertoire of study skill. So here, assessment method, essay. Then we have portfolio, presentation, portfolio, and essay. So this is, as you can see, 100% continuous assessment kind of subject lah, or course. So this one, this is, as you can see, this is table 4, it is set. Yes, however, it will evolve, okay, if there's a requirement to. So if you look at it, nature of learning strategies, so how do you describe a person's learning strategies? So it could be more reflective essay. That is why it cannot be an exam, because an exam will not be the best method in assessing this kind of CLO that we are looking at over there. That is why it is an essay. Okay, then let's look at the second one. I'll just use 2 over here. Formulate and plan personal goals and objectives. So when you're looking into planning your personal goals and objectives, it goes through in the semester. First day and the last day, it will evolve due to the way that you think, your maturity and whatever. So how do you, in a way, record this progression? It could be a portfolio. It is a portfolio. All right. A portfolio can be like a journal. So it could be journaling inside the portfolio. It could be reflective statements and whatnot. It can say, this is my plans and goals and how do I achieve it for my semester? What are the challenges and roadblocks that I feel, okay, that I face? It's like for this semester, day one, for this semester, I want to achieve 6 A's, straight A's, blah, 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 so on, so on, so on. Then you write journaling. After week one, things have gone very well. I've gone through all the classes. I've understood. I have already checked and so on. But week number two, there was a hiccup. Family issue, so and so, something happened in my family, has impacted me. So when you journal, in a way, this portfolio or this journal will be the best method in assessing CLO2 because it's continuous. Okay, it is continuous. So sometimes we need to understand all of these assessment methods that are put over there. It is not based on the whims and fancies of the person who was developing table 4. No, there was thought to it, okay, on what is the best method, okay, to achieve this. And this, where is my cursor? Cursor sudah hilang. Oh, sudah came back. This depends on this. And this changes. This changes. When you do program review, this will change. It evolves. Okay. It may not immediately, not this year, but maybe next year or the subsequent year and so on. So this change. When this changes, this changes. Okay. So flow of an assessment plan to find evidence and performance standards of LO attainment. So this is the basic flow. Okay, let's see. So number one, set learning outcome for the unit. What is the learning outcome of the unit? For us, senang lah, we take table 4, betul. So example, communication skill lah. Let's say it's communication skill. I put an example over there. Design assessment task based on learning outcome. So outcome, communication skill. So we do individual presentation. Example. 3, create specific assessment criteria that align to the design learning outcome for the task. What kind of assessment criteria that we have for individual presentation? So, basic lah. Kita ada macam intro, good, bad, this and that. Then after that, timing, then maybe clarity, then etc. dan lain-lain lagi lah. So when we talk about communication skill, the way that they communicate, articulation of words, okay? This one, Scene E can help lah, language, okay? Now, number 4, this one important. Develop performance standard. This is the weak point I find in a lot of our colleagues. Develop performance standard. What does a good intro mean? Okay, for each criteria against which the student's work will be assessed. So here is rubric. Now, guys, rubric, okay, let me just put it in a less emotional aspect because I always see mistakes over here. A rubric is your critical tool, you know. The rubric is like the ruler. It's like the ruler, the example that I gave you. You use the wrong ruler, you're measuring wrongly. So the rubric is a very, very critical tool to assess. Okay, it breaks down what does it mean by a good student, a medium, a mediocre, or even a poor student. Just an example. Okay, so this one needs to be done properly. And this one, please, if you need assistance, speak to your colleagues, some of your senior colleagues. Look at past rubrics that have been used. Use that as a basis, not use that lock, stock, and barrel, because your subject and your colleague's subject may be different. Not maybe, will be different. Okay, and because of the differences, even the rubric can change. Now, I know certain schools or many institutions have what you call fixed rubrics. Okay, social science, this is the rubric you use. Social science presentation, this is the rubric you use. Science, this is what you use. Now, I know where you're coming from. You're looking into efficiency, but you're not getting effectiveness. Okay, the more you look into OBE principles, achievements of outcome-based education, you will find that the tool used needs to be in tandem with what you want to achieve to the T. All right, that means you are doing a presentation for human resources. The rubric that you use will be different if you're doing presentation for marketing. Different aspects. Okay, different aspects. Okay, slight 90% can be the same, but there could be certain things that are different. That's what I'm trying to say. You cannot just, okay lah, my friend teaching marketing, same theory subject, give me lah, I use. Take it, fine. Study it. Does it fit what you need? Because this one salah, tool salah, validation gone. Okay, so like let's say you are, let's say Baki is evaluating or moderating examination of Suzy. All right, she needs not only see the assessment, you know, she needs to see she can ask Suzy, can you give me your rubric, your marking rubric? Very important. Then when you see, betul, then tak betul, then let the lecturer justify. Why? Because the lecturer's way, the lecturer's delivery, the lecturer's emphasis in class can differ from what is in your mind. But you are moderating, you can ask, let me see your rubric. Okay, so that is important. Okay, I want to stress on that, so please look into it. If that is one critical area. Ideally, it will be in the format of an assessment rubric. Of course, ideally, it must be a rubric. So what is the rubric itself, and it goes on. Now, I always get questioned, Gabe, your rubric, your breakdown even or odd? Okay, even or odd means like this. Okay, this one, I don't want to argue lah, because the more literature you read, the more argument you have on both sides. Under the criteria or descriptions on the criteria, there are those who are believers of 3. Average, good, bad. Example, I like 4. Okay, below average, above average, excellent, poor. The problem with average, average is always what you call the easy way out. When you require to really think how good this student is, and you're tired to think, you put average. Okay, average. Okay, and average or in the middle on the quantum is 50%. Okay, really on the dot 50%. In the middle. Whereas, if how many of the students, or what is the possibility or chance of a student really meeting that 50%? 1 in 100 lah, in other way lah, okay? Whereas I practice, I'm not saying you all should practice, my practice is I always have even numbers, man. So it forces me to think, okay, this student, I know he's quite good or whatever, it's not here and there, but let me put more effort, let me think, let's read properly on the description. How much effort was it inside there? Where do these students fall? Is it just above average or just below, or was it poor, and so on? Okay, so that is my practice. Okay, I like the even numbers over there. Okay, so how many of you here are, when you do your rubric, are you the one that follows that is the one in the middle, or are you the one who follows the even numbers of the aspects over there? Can I have just some feedback? Don't worry, as I said, no right, no wrong one. No right, no wrong. You read on this, you just read the literature. There is no clear right or wrong one on this. Maybe you just put it in the chat, guys. Just put even, odd. Excellent, good, average, poor. Macam aku lah. Just put even or odd already can. Okay. Odd. Okay, no problem. Odd, odd. So I can see so far just on a snapshot, majority are on the odd now. No problem. Okay, but it is good to maybe this is just to different perspectives, different perspective. Good to think about. Okay, who knows? Maybe I may change, maybe you may change. You know, and it goes. All right, interesting. Okay, construct overall achievement standards to arrive at a grade for the assessment task. So the final one here is, as you go through everything already, you do assessment, then finally you construct everything. Once you construct everything, means the whole process goes through, then you are able to give a grade. Then you're able to give a grade with great certainty. All right, now this person achieved 75. What does 75 mean? 75 means this based on rating, and this can be justified, and this, as you can see. Okay, now if you look into OBE, outcomes-based education, once you give a person a 75 and this person is competent, or I would say above average, okay, 75. if you pull him down, you pull him out from the street, this person, you see him, and you ask him, okay, demonstrate. That person should be able to demonstrate that level of that 75. So let's say you're a marketing lecturer. You teach marketing, and then after that you give John a 75 marks. So John is now 75 based, and your assessment is good, proper, and legitimate. Okay. Suddenly you are walking down the aisle, you're walking down in the canteen, you stop John. Hey John, can I just ask you, can you explain the fundamentals of the marketing mix? Example. All right. John should be able, if not panic suddenly lecturer asking, to be able to answer that. Then you know your assessment is valid. All right. Okay. That is why assessment should always break down in different components, not put in one only. Because if 100% final exam, some students, they burn the midnight oil and they're lucky, they spot, then they can regurgitate whatever is required and they get that 75 marks. Okay. Whereas knowledge, comprehension, application may not be there, but then it is there. But then that is what they do. They regurgitate out. Okay, ask yourself, all of you over here, all of you have gone through tertiary education at numerous levels. Many of you are already at level 8 or achieve your level 8, PhDs, degrees, masters, and so on. Go back to your post-secondary. Go back to your Form 5s and so on. Can you still remember certain formulas in your science class? Can you still remember any knowledge that you have gained in your SPM time? Okay, if you can relate, that is learning lah. Because learning is where those knowledge itself is in you, and you are still able to relate. I will never forget. I was a science student in the late 80s and early 90s, and then I still remember a JLP, or a jumlah luas permukaan over isi padu. You know, that is how the calculation, okay, of the things lah. You know, exactly. But those things still linger in my mind. So what it shows is that is learning lah. All right. If it is just regurgitation, those things will not be remembered. Okay. So this is what a good assessment should be at the end of the day. A good assessment, a valid assessment, should in a way be so precise that at the end of the day, even though you pull that student out, you ask him 1 or 2 questions, he will get. So generally, if you pull that John out again, 75% of the questions that you ask, he should be able to answer lah, because he's a 75% student ma. Simple mathematics lah, simple equation. That is what a good assessment should be. Okay. Okay. So you look into this, the emphasis here is on the rubric. So please look into that. Now, purpose, assessment tasks and purposes fulfill 3 key roles in students' learning. So when you look at assessment, 3 key roles over here. First thing, a good assessment. Assessment are not summative alone, could be formative and summative. Facilitate student capacity to meet learning outcome. So facilitate the students' capacity. Capacity means ability and motivation to achieve the learning outcome. So this is called formative. All right, the formative side. So we do a lot of formative assessment in class to ensure that students are on par to achieve their learning outcome. On par. We are not gauging them. We are not testing them for the final marks, but we make sure that they are in knowledge. It's like when I ask you all now, guys, do you understand? Yes. So that is facilitate students' capacity to meet learning outcome. What is the learning outcome for me? I want to make sure at the end of the day, all of you understand assessment and online assessment. So that is my goal. Because that is my goal, my actions is used to facilitate. So that is number 1. Number 2, develop students' ability to become confident self-evaluators. Okay, so this is assessment literacy. So another good purpose of assessment is students will be able to be self-evaluators. This is how I do, this is the assessment I do, and I will then achieve my goal. All right. We should always accept, literature says, that students are innately matured and they know what they want to achieve. Okay. Now, that is a basic theory that students come, they want to learn lah. But we know some of our students come to school or join the program because there's a gun onto their head by their parents. They got no choice. Okay. But if we understand that students are here, majority, they want to learn, they want to achieve well, which majority of our students do, then by understanding the assessment mode, students will structure the way that they deliver and they develop to ensure achievement of the goal, all right, on the learning outcome. They will excel in that assessment. They will excel in assessment based on them knowing what the assessment is. Okay, that is why if all our exams, all our assessments are final exam, written exam, all, I'm talking about every single one, 100%, 100%, 100%, 100%, 100%, 100%. Student will structure their learning, will structure their motivation to excel in exam. If you ask them to do presentation, they'll tell you, sir, for what? No marks, ma. For what? Okay, they will do very well in their exam, but they will not excel in anything else because that is not assessed. And that goes against the 5 clusters that has been put by MQA in the MQF version 2. Goes against that because in the 5 clusters, what is important is communication skill, interpersonal, and so on. So assessment is very important. So if now in your assessment you put presentation 30%, it already tells the student, hey, able to speak and be articulate is very important. So I'm going to develop my skill in articulation of ideas. So they develop their skill. And this goes hand in hand with what is required for graduate attributes, the 5 clusters. You get this, guys? That is why this is another key purpose of assessment. It's always important. First day, maybe not first day, first week, tell the student, you're doing my subject, human resources, the assessment, it will be like this, these are the assessment, this is the breakdown assessment. All of you do it, I understand. But you should understand why it is important. So students already know the goal post, goal post. Okay, goal post is very important so that they know how to achieve their goal. What is important to achieve their goal? That's why assessment. And number 3, provide evidence of achievement of learning outcome. Okay, so the evidence of achievement of learning outcome, that is another critical aspect of assessment, and that is summative assessment. Summative, the ones that got the marks. The one that got marks is the one that validate and shows the evidence of the achievement of the learning outcome. LO achieve, itu saja. Understand, guys? Following? Good? Boleh? Boleh. Okay. Good. Following. So you know, now that is why I would like to emphasize this one we do very well. This one also we do very well. This one, the middle one, educate the students about the importance of the assessment and that is why it is important. This one we should emphasize a little bit more. Okay. Okay, so it's as simple as it. Curriculum design is this way lah. Curriculum design PEO drives PLO, drives CLO, drives LLO. LLO stands for lesson learning outcome. Lesson learning outcome is something that I use very much because it is when we look at our CLO, your course may have 4 CLO. Betul. So that is your course learning outcome. But every lesson that you go, you have your outcome also. Okay? Every lesson you go, you got your outcome. Like today, this afternoon, some of you will be teaching, you have your lesson. So in your lesson, you got your outcome. All right. So in that outcome, you may want to do some formative assessment. Formative assessment to ensure that what is achieved, what is needed for the lesson is achieved. So that is curriculum design, top down. Assessment, bottom up. LLO achieve, CLO achieve, PLO will then eventually impact PLO achievement, which will eventually impact CLO achievement. Okay, so if assessment tak valid here, everything screwed up. Everything screwed up. So this is very important at the lower level assessment. Okay, this is operational lah. Operational is kat sini lah. We are the one doing it lah. We are the one doing it, the operational side of it. Okay. So, formative assessment to improve learning, summative assessment to grade student. Okay, so this is just a little bit of explanation. Formative assessment is a form of low stakes assessment for learning and is part of the instructional process. Formative is part of the instructional process. So it's continuously collecting data as learning is in progress. So continuously getting data. This is my feedback that you have given me is formative feedback. You have given me formative feedback based on my formative assessment method I use called questioning. I have questioned the group. Do you understand? Then you guys say yes. What other method can I use? Guys, my question to you now. What other method could I use to do formative feedback from you all? What other method? Either than just say, do you understand? Lagi? Apa lagi, guys? Don't worry to unmute yourself. You can speak. Quiz. Yes. Quiz. Quiz. Betul. So we use Quizlet review. Yes. Ask questions. Yes, we can ask questions. I can even target individuals. Okay, there are how many of you over here? There are roughly 16 of you. If I have 16 questions, will be fabulous. Kan? Betul lah. All of this lah. So depending on the clientele or group, that is how it is. Now, why do you think at master's level, some of you teach master student, when you go in, sometimes some of you don't do lecture. You don't need to do lecture. Just go there and then do formative assessment already, formative feedback from them, because they are at that level, tahap 7. They should be doing prior reading. Today's topic is about what do you call that? Certain things. Let's say economic trends in Asia. All right. Okay. Or impacts of reducing the interest rate in Southeast Asia. Okay. Which students will already know. That is my lesson of the day. They would have done reading. When they would have done reading, you come in. That is just discussion. Get feedback lah. Get feedback. Okay. That is why at higher levels, sometimes lecture is not required. Just go in and just all right, guys. Let's discuss on China reducing 1 point. Okay, all countries are increasing their rates. China is reducing. Why? Let's discuss about this. And which is quite true. Today's news, I think China is reducing, whereas other countries are increasing. So why? Then they will discuss. Because the acceptance that we are doing formative assessment already because the students would already come in with prior knowledge. We hope lah, fingers crossed lah, they do their reading beforehand lah. Tahap 7, they should masters level, they should Masters level should not come in and be a blank face one, all right? Shouldn't, all right? Now, at lower levels, maybe not lah. Lower levels, tahap 3, tahap 4, maybe not so much. All right, that one you may need to give lecture first, teach them, give them the knowledge before you do formative assessment and formative feedback, because you need to give them knowledge first. So what I'm trying to say is formative assessments doesn't have to be only after you give knowledge. It can be the first thing you do formative to ascertain level of knowledge. You ascertain. So if you go to a master's class, go in, we talk about economic theories and concepts, and suddenly you find, bugger, none of them understand. Then you ring a mind, something. Continuously collect data, as you can see. All right. And then the second part comes in. Provide information needed to adjust teaching and learning. You go to a master's class, you are doing discussion about current issues, none of them understand. What will you do as teachers? What will you all do? What will you all do? Come on, guys. Question. What will you all do? Going to a tahap 7, a level 7 class, and doing a discussion that is on the topic of the day, but they know that they have to do their prior reading and prior learning. None of them can answer. None of them, and they do not demonstrate, and they did not demonstrate competency and knowledge of the topic. So what do you need to do? Okay, find out the root cause. Let's say it is memang tak faham. Maybe didn't read, different lah, but memang tak faham. If tak faham, so how would you adjust your teaching and learning? No choice loh, Suzy, betul lah. Sometimes you need to discuss, you need to go back to theory loh, explain the topic loh. You need to explain the key topics again, because if they did not understand. So yes, what you have done, you have done feedback. hoping that they would have done their work, but demonstration is zero. They didn't do, or they don't understand. So you will adjust your teaching and learning style. You adjust your teaching and learning style because you have found out that maybe they are not competent enough on this area. So you need to explain concept. You need to go back to explain concept. Let's say you don't tak kisah. If you tak kisah, what happens is outcome cannot be achieved. Student won't achieve the outcome because they don't understand concept, and you've already identified that. That is what it means. Okay. Now, then the third informs both teacher and student about students' understanding. Formative assessment, students' understanding at the point when timely adjustments can be made to achieve the target learning outcome. At the point where the understanding is not there, you are doing your teaching. Suddenly, I ask questions, student tak faham. I need to adjust. Yes. See, I'm getting feedback from all of you. Baki asked why. Suzy explained the topic. Okay, Jehan said discuss what's the issue. Yes, it rings in my mind that my audience, which are you all, understands to a certain extent, which is very good. You're on the right track. Okay. Okay, so this is how it is. Formative also helps in evaluating who understands. If out of my 16 respondents or participants over here, what I see is normally the same 6 individuals answering. So as facilitators, it should prod you. How come so and so didn't understand? How come so and so didn't answer? Could it be they don't understand and they dare not ask? Or could it be that they are maybe not there at all? These are the things that formative assessment should assist us as teachers and facilitators. All right, that is what it brought us to investigate further. Okay, so example, progress test, exercise, body language, questioning, homework. See, body language is formative assessment. Body language. If I ask all of you to switch on your videos now, by looking at your body language, eye contact, frowning, or even it tells me whether you understand or you don't. It gives me hints, not 100% accurate, but it gives me hints that maybe this thing they don't understand that well. So I will need to further emphasize on. As you understand, in class, the body forward shows interest, the slouching aspect, maybe that guy is dreaming. Now, this is basic body language techniques, all right? It gives hints and clues to what is in the mind of the respondent, but it is not 100% accurate, all right? Crossing of hands, as they say, if somebody crosses their hands, they are defensive. It doesn't mean it could be the room is very cold. It's so cold that you have to cross your hands, okay? So basically, but it gives you hints and ideas on how what is in, or hungry. Hungry, impact, cold, cross hand, hungry, cold, so cross hand, okay? Exactly. Okay, so that is formative, very important. I want to further emphasize on this because this will make your life easier. If we continue using formative assessment and formative feedback, our life will be much easier. Students' achievement of goals will be at a higher percentage because you already stop the rot when it happens at the early stage. You don't wait for it to fester on. The festering on is what that will impact students' learning. If after lesson 5 or 6, then only you found out students don't understand lesson 1. Ayo, susah. Student really lost motivation. Okay, so if it's periodic, then it's easier. Next, summative assessment or high-stakes examination is to measure the level of success, performance, quality, proficiency, or how well students have achieved the learning outcomes at the end of an instructional unit or a course module program by comparing it against some standard or benchmark. All right, so that is summative. So sometimes you call it high-stakes examination, high-stakes presentation, projects, and so on. So this is a very generic term. All right. So this is important. Why? This is it makes judgment on the final grade assigned to the student. So a student is an A student. Why is an A student? Because summative assessment, this is what the fellow got. Okay. Formative, we don't give marks. It is a summative one. Formative is to guide to make sure students achieve their goal. Summative is for the students to demonstrate their achievement. Okay. And you got exams, graded assignments, graded projects, and so on. Okay. So for those of you who are doing events, if you're doing like social responsibility, what a global social responsibility or social responsibility kind of assignments, big events and whatnot. So your summative assignment is group work. So when it's group work, it is important to find out what is the achievement of individual students itself. Okay. So method of assessments, methods will vary depending on the learning outcomes to be measured, what kind of learning outcomes you want to measure. So we have what you call direct assessment, involves examining actual examples of students' work. So direct assessment could be what we are doing in most of our classes, quiz, tests, reports, portfolios, presentations, all of these are called direct assessment. However, there are also indirect assessments. Indirect assessment refers to the analysis of reported perceptions about students' mastery of learning outcome. This is called indirect assessment. All right. So we analyze report of the students' outcome. Okay. It may be in the form of employer survey, exit interviews of graduates, and self-reports by students and so on. So many a times when students go for industrial placement, the institute, we don't evaluate a part, certain part is done by the employer. So that is very much indirect assessments. All right. It is based on report analysis of the students' work and so on. In our context, ours mostly will be direct assessments. Okay. Assessment method chosen must be aligned with the process of finding evidence of the LO attainment. So whatever, as what I stressed earlier on, the methods that we choose, we have to make sure that the whole goal is the evidence of the LO attainment. How do we ascertain that students have achieved that learning outcome? Okay, and must be consistent with the students' learning time. This one I want to highlight over here. Students' learning time required to complete the task. Okay, so that is why in your school there is always best practice. Okay, you give student 2 weeks or 1 week to write an essay. Please don't ask them for 15,000 words. Okay, that could be too much, or that is too much. So it is the time context versus the what is given to the student. Okay, there must be a balance over there. Too much time also no good. Too little time also no good. So you need to make sure that it is at an optimum level. Now, time is a resource. When a person does any assessment, they need to be guided by resources, all right? How much resources and so on. That is why it is important for those of you who are getting students to develop plans and also models and whatnot. Models. Let's say you're having a design, then you want students to create model. I always believe it is important to limit resources. Like, okay, students, you have 2 weeks to do it, and your budget, all of you, your budget is how much? Okay, why? Because you need to create an environment that is equal to all students. We have students who are very rich. They can spend $3,000 to get experts to come and design. There are students who are not so rich. So 3,000 is not possible. So all of these kind of aspects then needs to be clear. Okay. Now, I'm not saying students cannot be resourceful and get help and advice. That is important, being resourceful, but certain guidelines need to be stated. All right. Certain guidelines need to be stated itself. That is very important. Okay. I know I've taught students who are, the car they drive is more expensive than my house one. Okay, so basically for them, this kind of group work project, sway, money no issue, spend, yeah. So you may want to give certain control on resources. Okay, they must also consider practical issues in scoring and provide feedback for the purpose of promoting learning. So we as teachers, we must always provide feedback. Okay, so students hand in assessments, send in assignments, whatever they do, we must give feedback. Students need to know whether is it correct or not correct, because no point for them to continue doing something that is not correct. Okay, let me see. Okay, so let me just complete this view before I give you a break, because that will be the next part. So assessment methods, planning assessments, it basically can be broken down into some simple steps over here. Number one, planning assessment tasks, communicate the assessment plan to students, planning the assessment, refer to assessment versus student learning time, SLT. Now you look table 4, got this thing called SLT, SLT, SLT. Yes, assessments are calculated in students' credit also. So the students' learning time, what is expected from them. Okay, diversity of assessment, what kind of how diverse is your assessment, not just one. If earlier on you saw the one sample table 4 I show, we got essay, we got presentation, we got portfolio. Why? Because that particular course, we are supposed to target 3 the CLOs are supposed to match with 3 PLOs. Okay, PLOs. So there are, and the PLOs were very much more on the effective role, effective side of things. So that is why the whole assessment is very diverse, very different. Okay, then weightage and also coverage. Then conduct both formative and summative assessment, different types. Then types of assessment, you can look at your coursework, examination, and test, and so on. Dan lain-lain lagi lah. I just put it quite simply here. Examination and test is more of your written. Coursework is open. Projects are coursework. Presentations are coursework. All of these things. Okay. Then review of assessment methodologies and currency with development in best practices. Then you need to review. Whenever you set your assessment, you review lah. That is where your colleagues will come and give you feedback. Your colleagues are very good, what is sounding board to tell us, hey, Gabe, there are other new methods. You can use this, you can use that. Very good. So it needs to be valid and reliable. Okay. So basically, all assessments must be fair, valid, and reliable. Every assessment that is being done must meet these 3 criteria. Earlier on, I stated must meet these 3. Now, what is fairness? It's about ensuring the assessment is accessible to students. That is fairness. If you do an assessment that is not accessible to all your students, it is not fair. Okay, so you need to make sure that it is fair, number 1. Number 2 is valid. It concerns with whether the assessment measures what is claimed. So if you're talking about presentation skill, so your assessment, a validity for presentation skill assessment is one that will in a way measure the ability of the student in presentation skill. Ability of the student in presentation skill. That is called validity. So your assessment needs to be valid. Okay, you cannot have an assessment. Your goal is to assess presentation skill, but the assessment is a written essay. Written. So written doesn't measure, it's not valid to measure presentation, communication skill itself. All right. Okay, in that context. Okay, so it's not valid. And number 3 is very important, reliability. Reliability refers to an assessment being consistent over time and across assessors. My assessment that I set with my rubric, everything, I give Ali got 74. I give Akau got 75. My class average is that. If I give the same assessment to another person that is similar to Ali, let's say exactly, he should get roughly 74 or 75, plus minus a variance of maybe 2 to 3%. Normal lah, okay, plus minus a little bit. But it should be reliable in such. It cannot be given to a particular group and the assessment assessed, and this same assessment given to another group, and you will see a big discrepancy. So it is not valid. It is not reliable. It doesn't test properly. So that is why setting of assessments is not something that is done in an ad hoc or a slipshod manner. It needs to be taught clearly. How good is it? And I don't doubt that many a times our assessments that we are using has gone through numerous years and numerous reviews. And this has made it to be as what we see this, fairness, validity, and reliable already. All right, it has proven that. And the best proof is my students graduate, come out, can find job mah. PEO achieve mah, can find job. So assessment must be good lah. Okay. But as I stressed earlier on, before I give you on a short break, what is required in a job has changed. So when it is changed, we also need to change our assessment. All right. But always remember, fair, everybody, validity, and reliable. So it comes down to the context of us. Currently, some students do want to come back to campus, How do you ensure fairness? How do you ensure fairness in that when you give your assessment, let's say you do an online assessment or just do a physical assessment. Okay, a physical assessment can cover validity and reliability to a higher level. Maybe. Okay, I'm not saying anything. But what about fairness? Certain people that cannot come, really. All right. Okay. So how? How do we do? Don't want to go back to campus, but no problem going clubbing or holidays. Yeah, Jehan, exactly. So this is where it is. Okay. So that is where institutional certain strict rules and regulations need to be applied lah, on this kind of context. Okay. Okay. I will give you all a break now. Thank you very much. Go take a break. It is 10:10. Okay, let's come back in 10:20. Take 10 minutes, go to the loo or whatever. And then in 10:20, we will continue. All right, guys? All right, go. Hello, guys. Back. Any of you from the nursing school lah? In Penang? Oh, Bagi, yes. Over in UG, as you know, our Ramsey students are already in. Okay, these are the nursing students. So in the past week, they have been doing their examination on campus. So you will see most of them outside my office. There is this nice area, sit down with fan and so on. So they actually hang out there and study, revise before their exam. So the whole campus over in UG has taken a little bit of a different environment, which is quite nice. It's quite nice to see. Not number one, more students. Number two, different kinds of students. Those in full nursing uniform. Because I see the nursing students need to wear full uniform when they do their exam. Okay, so it is quite interesting. It gives the whole institution a different kind of feel and vibe lah. Huh? Correct, right, guys? For those of you who are on the third floor or fourth floor or wherever you are, it is good. You come down right in front of my office there. You know, there's this sit area where the engineering school is. Quite interesting to see the nursing students hanging out there. You know, and mix around. And it's the same lah, same like engineering. Nursing and engineering is the other way around. Nursing percentage of male students, I think less than 10%. Engineering percentage of female students, less than 10%. So it's the other way around. Okay. Okay, all right. Thanks, guys, for coming back. Okay, we'll be continuing. Now, as you remember, the final thing that we stressed on was on the all assessments must be fair, valid, and reliable. So this is something that please take note and adhere to when you are designing your various kinds of assessments. Okay, so if you look at this, you will find that actually projects presentation susah. Because why projects presentation susah? This part lah, validity and reliability part, you have to make sure that the whole design of your assessment is done in a proper manner so that you're able to achieve validity and reliability, especially for assessments that are not written, okay, and also requires demonstration by students and also observation by the instructor. Because if marks is given based on observation, then it is important for us to make sure that we are observing the students correctly in their actions so that we are able to give the correct marks or the correct points to the student itself. Okay. Now, questioning strategies, planning questions. Effective questioning strategy sessions in classroom require advanced preparation. So that there should be very much advanced preparation. You should already stand beforehand already to start planning your assessment. While some instructors may be skilled in extemporaneous questioning, many find that such questions have phrasing problems, are not organized in a logical sequence, or do not require students to use the desired thinking skills. So when you plan your questions, it is important for us to make sure that all of these are achieved based on your learning outcome. Okay. So it is not as easy as just to say, oh, I'm doing marketing. We just ask them to define. We just ask them to explain. No. If you are level 3 and level 4 at the early stage, yes, define, explain can. But if you are already level 4 at year 2 or starting on level 6 degree students, then the define and explain should be much lower lah. Okay, on reward, the more is the application part of things. So that is where when you design questions, it's important for us to understand what level the student is in. Okay, so this is where we are going to just touch a little bit on levels and types of question. So we often look at lower level and higher level questioning. So when we talk about lower level questioning is remember, understand, and apply. And then higher is analyze, evaluate, and to create. Now, application is a level 3 and 4. I always put application as 3 and 4 over there. So that is the ability for the student to take the knowledge prior that they have and to apply it. So if you look at our students, depending on where they are and how we reward, it will impact how we reward. Lower level, we can reward this here. Okay. Higher level, it is rewarding here. Student may demonstrate this in higher level, but reward may be much less. Whereas At lower level, students show this, we reward. Then we give more on the apply side, and we differentiate the men from the boys from the analyze, evaluate, or to create side over there. Okay, this demonstrates higher level of knowledge. So even at our students who are at level 4 students, diploma students, most of them will do this. Remember, understand, okay, and they can apply, good. And if they can do this, they will be your A students lah. Okay, now this one, without a doubt, all of you should have mastered. You have been hearing Bloom's taxonomy all numerous times, even in a number of my presentations. Those of you who have gone through my OBE sessions, you will have heard it so many times until you got bored. Okay, Benjamin Bloom, all right, this gentleman who has actually came out with all of this. There are many different taxonomies. However, what we use is basically Bloom's on the cognitive side because it is easy to review and easy to apply. Okay, now, so as we can see, so these are the lower and higher level aspects. So we all know this, fine. I will not touch so much. Now, here, a closed question is one for which there are limited number of accessible answers, most of which will usually be anticipated by the instructor. For example, what is the definition of an adjective? So if you're looking to questioning, you need to understand what is a closed and also a open question. So this is what you want. Whereas an open question is one for which there are many acceptable answers, most of which will not be anticipated by the instructor. For example, what is an example of an adjective? So these are the things you need to really be ready, guys, when you set your exam questions. You set an open question. Student can give you answers that you may not have thought of that are also correct. That is why we always stress that the model answer is called a model guide. It's an answer guide. It is not fixed in stone that you must follow word for word. Okay, when you're setting exam questions. Okay, we need to reward students who are able to demonstrate higher level of learning and also reading. And that is what is being demonstrated by our students today, because many of them get their information not from the normal traditional sense of just the textbook. The textbook is only one avenue. They have got it from many different places. So when you set questions like this, what is an example of an adjective? Then you must be ready to accept numerous kinds of answers, all kinds of answers from everywhere. And this will mean that your knowledge itself to be able to reward this kind of answers or the answers that's given by the student needs to be there. So if you yourself do not know, then it can be a bit of a challenge. Okay. So my advice is we do here, but you mustn't in a way follow your model answer to the T lah. There is, if no, you're going to list down all your adjectives inside there. If the word is not inside there, you will not accept, then it's going to be a problem. Okay, so when you're setting questions, exam questions and whatnot, you need to, you really do need to understand over there. Okay, later when we talk about setting exam questions, part of it, there are 3 key aspects we need to set. Okay, and we don't need to state all possible answers. Yes, no way you can state all possible answers. Okay, unless you put that, please refer to Google search. Okay, yes, because guys, we are in this dilemma. Sometimes model answer is that's why. Okay, let me just rephrase this. A lower level group of students, you will find that because of the lower level, you don't expect them to be so more definition and whatnot. Your model answer are more structured. The higher level you go, it becomes answer guides. Okay, answer guides. Certain at lower level, you may just want students to follow the steps that was taught in class. This in class, I teach you how to make puff pastry. You follow the step. That is what I want you to do. Okay, all right. So you can even relate, tell students based on what of the principles that were taught in class. Okay, higher level, you don't expect this. You want them to be more creative. So we don't need to state all possible answers. However, if second marker, moderator validates, that's why that's why I'm just nice. When I moderate, I say, hey, how come this answer is there? Then Susie will need to explain to me, oh, because this is justified. Okay, model answer will not have all the answers. It is called an answer guide. Unless it is a clear definition that is being used in class and you want students to list or to regurgitate that definition, then it will be word for word. Okay, then it will be word for word because that is as required in a particular theory or concept. Other than that, it is just a guide. Okay, so normally these are the expected answers. So, and what others that students give that it is justified. Okay, so you can list out some already. This is normally what is it. However, this is not only that, and it can be justified. Okay, all right. Okay, because you see, on a daily basis, students will learn based on what they see in the news, based on what is happening, based on new reading and research, which many a times in our textbook itself may be printed 3-4 years ago. And 3-4 years ago, the concepts and theories was for during that time. Okay, and things have evolved to where it is today. All right. But as I want to put a caveat that very important, you as a teacher or facilitator or lecturer, whatever marks that you give, you must be able to answer why you give that. Why you give that. Why is this answer justified? Okay. Then that is why when the marking, the moderation part of it over there is always in a way lah. Now, the marking, that's why who is your second marker or your moderator? It should be a person with the similar knowledge or skill so that they can relate in the same discipline. So if that is your discipline and I'm a different discipline, of course, I will question. I will say it's not in the model answer. But if we are of the same discipline, then I can relate to that answer itself. That is why it is important. Similar discipline is very important, as I stressed earlier on in the moderation aspect. Okay. So now, we have over here this thing called guideline for blueprint and examination document preparation and application. Now, guys, actually this statement over here, what I just said is actually in our handbook, in our guide. Okay, it is also in the documents that I've sent out to the staff. I've already stated on a matter pertaining to examination guide. I mean the setting of model answers and whatnot, and the definition that this is not fixed and whatnot and so on. Okay. Now, guidelines for blueprint and examination document preparation and application. So as you can see, this is basically used in a traditional sense. When we sit down for exam, this is the thing that we actually use. Okay. So we have for certificate level, low, medium, high. All right. So if you look at Bloom's taxonomy, I'm just using a simple Bloom's cognitive. So this is 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6. So the first part is just knowledge. No. Second part is application of knowledge. And the third part is the creation of knowledge. Okay. Okay. Creation. Here is where you apply. Okay. So diploma, you see, we touch a little bit 0 to 10. Even diploma, we also touch 10 to 20. Then foundation, then and so on. As you can see, postgraduate, it goes higher over there. All right. So as you can see, postgraduate, even the low, the knowledge part, you can reward, but must be very, 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 very low. Very low. You cannot reward high on this. Okay. Even degree, year 1 and 2, the knowledge part, highest you can go is 30%. All right, highest you can go is 30%. So of a final examination that is 40, let's take that for example, and if you max it at 30%, that is only 12 marks. So 12 marks will be on if student can regurgitate information. That is called information regurgitation. Okay, 12 marks. Because based on basic theories in degree level 1 and year 1 and 2, maximum. Now, if it is degree 3, year 3 and 4, then it is only 8 marks. Out of that 40 marks, only 8 marks is regurgitation. Now, how they use the information in a scenario, this is where the middle comes in, the application part. How do they apply it? Okay, it is the same as I spoke to you all last week. Buying apples and buying good apples is quality apples is very different. Buying apples is like your knowledge. Just buy your name. You know what is apple. So application is where you will show that this person understands the knowledge and apply in the particular scenario. And if the scenario changes, the application will also evolve. Okay, the way you apply will evolve. All right. So it's the same thing. In a way, making mayonnaise. Let's give you an example. I like to give food examples. You make mayonnaise, egg yolk and vinegar. Egg yolk and vinegar is egg yolk and oil. Sorry, egg yolk and oil is the basis of making mayonnaise. Whisk, 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 whisk. So that is knowledge. You do. Application is what if as you whisk, 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 it doesn't emulsify. There's no emulsification. How do you solve the problem? Okay, what are the issues over there? So then you apply your knowledge. Apply your knowledge, and you need to think, how do you? So immediately you may need to take your bowl to put it on a bed of ice because heat does have an impact. So your learning, your theory is heat, okay, it could impact by heat. Then you apply it in the actual practice itself. That is application. Okay, so you change. All right, you put it in the bed of ice, then you whisk, there's a higher chance of, but you reach a certain level, you over whisk, it will not form. So there is other aspects of applying your knowledge. That is what we want to see. Okay, that is what we want to see at that level to make sure that students are able to in a way solve this kind. Okay, so in a practical sense, we cannot guarantee that this kind of things will happen. We cannot guarantee failure of emulsification in all mayonnaise that is being made. We cannot. So that is why the whole situation on the we want that is the final goal. But if it happens, how it is solved. So we look at the students, see whether they are able to adapt. In dining room service, for example, in running a service, sometimes we get the customer who are part of the delivery process to create situations. Spill water. When you spill water, what happens? That's why last time in the context of exam, practical exam for hotel students, during the exam, the examiners are the customers. They are the customers. They sit in, they observe, and then they create situations and scenarios that will be best to evaluate students' competency in solving problems. Okay, so this is how it goes. Now, when we look into online assessment, there could be a big a change over there. There will be a big change. Okay, guidelines for blueprint. This is for online assessment, as you can see. Okay, here you see the application part has gone up. Why? Why suddenly it go up? Because of the way that it's been assessed. If you're doing an online assessment or you are doing a take-home paper, then it is difficult in a way to reward on the lower aspect. Okay, because there is a chance that students would or could source from information that is already available. So the bigger emphasis will be on the application. We reward the application part of it. All right. You still can reward a lower level. You still can, but at very, very, very low marks. Very low marks. Okay. So if you look at the earlier one, when the certificate students, 60 to 80% is on knowledge. Now it is 10 to 30%. Most of it is application. Okay. So when we look into online assessment, if it is delivered or if it is done in a proper manner, it is actually pretty good. It encourages students to evaluate and learn. It encourages students to be at a higher level. Okay. All right. So it is actually good. Now, you may ask, why do we do this? Because the level of control, the stringent level of control in an online environment, however it is still, there are areas for improvement in technology. And in a way, it is still very difficult to make sure that it is 100% secure. Okay. So that is why in the assessment method, it also needs to evolve accordingly. All right. That is how it has been structured. Yes. All right, guys, understand? All right. So this is something which we practice. This is something which it's been circulated to all our colleagues through the heads, and we don't see much of a problem. Now, from next semester onwards, we are pushing to all students coming back. Yes, we are a blended organization, but we are also getting the students to come back. All right, and classes will be run full. Most of our classes in even UG, the decision is let's do it physical when it is possible, or what is possible. 1st of April, the government sent a circular to say that all open already. Okay. the whole aspect, your rooms, your halls, you can go full if you want. However, the physical distancing is still encouraged. So government is very clever lah. They told us they can run, but they put the responsibility to us and say that physical distancing is still encouraged. So we are still doing physical distancing. There's going to be discussion with the heads very, very soon to come up with a consensus on their decision on how do we run this. I know some of our colleagues are already asking, Gabe, are we running full? Are we doing physical distancing? Are we getting the students back? Are we still our rooms? Because once you do physical distancing, the rooms only half. Okay, so if everything goes back as what we are open up and so on, we are still a blended organization. So 30% of your courses will still to be run in that blended kind of environment. Okay, so when you go back to exams, are we going back to the physical exams? Or if we have already encouraged students to apply, all right, we have already encouraged students to on the application part of it, based on the past few years of assessment, then this is already a plus point for us. It's really good. Students are now being assessed at a higher level, which is always good. Okay, which is always good. Okay, so we are now able to assess student in that way. But this is very important for us to make sure that we are able to nurture student to assess in that way. All right, you cannot just tell student you need to apply if you don't teach them how to apply in class. Okay, that is why one thing I want to stress before I think if I'm not wrong, it's in my future slide, but I want to touch a little bit. We need to always explain to student verbs, our action verbs. What is define, what is apply, what is compare, what is all of this. It needs to be explained to the student because many of our students do not know what it means. Okay, list, what does list mean? And explain, list and explain. Or in this situation, you know, some students are so happy. They take 2 hours, 1 hour to finish one question. But they list, they list, but they never apply it to the situation, or they don't compare as what is required. So they will ask, sir, how come I out of that 20 marks, you only give me 10? I write 5 pages, you know. Then you show them the question. Hey, look at the question, what is required? You did not answer the question. You just list, yes, list maximum 10 marks only. So you only got 10 marks. You see, you didn't compare with the situation. You didn't apply it to that situation as required. Oh, sir, need to do. I saw list only. Why students don't read the question properly? They jump into conclusion. Number one, sometimes students don't understand the word. Okay, sometimes I still remember last time when I put compare two situations, compare this with, they just write about one. They thought choose one because they did not understand what is required from the question. So that is also very important. When you do, when we set assessments, we are not setting a question to like surprise the student. Wow, I set difficult one, you don't know, you fail, yay, I win. No, we are not doing that. We do not want to set questions or assessments that student fail. No, that is not right. Okay, we have to make sure that they can demonstrate their ability. So we got to make sure that they know what is being assessed, not giving them question, but the key verbs, what does it mean? Okay, the action verbs and so on. That is important. Okay. So in online assessment, now we are going to go through the steps of setting online assessments. Here I'm going to emphasize very much more on the written online assessments. Okay, key element on online assessment security. Elements on online security. These assessments without clear control mechanism must be taken as an open book assessment and treated as so. So that's number one. So if you do not have clear control mechanisms, now what is a control mechanism? A control mechanism is a mechanism available to reduce any uncertainty of improper behavior by the student. Exam.net is a control mechanism. But if we need to see the level of control mechanism that we use, exam.net allows for video and also locking of what do you call the page. You know, you can actually have video. But the problem is this, we have found out certain classes, engineering school, very good. Gabe, exam.net, brilliant. I use very good, no problem. Class small. Big classes, we have found out that certain challenges. And this challenge is not only because of exam.net, it's all proctoring software. Sometimes when you want to see video of many different students at one time, there could be challenges, okay? Bandwidth challenges, impacts, and so on. So there must be a clear mechanism, okay? So if there is no clear mechanism, we need to treat our assessment as open book assessment. Open book assessments are actually good assessment methods. That means students can refer to book. If students can refer to book, can you reward knowledge? Yes or no? If students can refer to book, can you reward list and define? Boleh? No, exactly, cannot. You should only reward. You should accept the fact that students can refer to book. Then you should reward then application. Okay, you should reward application, which is not wrong. This is how it is. Okay, so number one, students will have access to the information available to them. All right. So what is this control mechanism? Browser log, constant video surveillance during assessment, and so on. I know of some schools who have used exam.net, and they a little bit more fun. So what they do is they have stream using Teams, and then they also ask the student, okay, before you start, you show your video, show around your room. We want to see. Can also. Small classroom can. So we need to do a control. I know certain of my colleagues who have done this, where their class is big, they use exam.net, they have 50 to 60 people in the class. So yes, screen recording could be. So they also have 3 invigilators. They get their friend to have 3 invigilators, so that each colleague got 3 of them will only control 20 students. They see 20. So that is also control mechanism. Okay, so these kinds, the higher level you go, the better it is. All right, so that's number one. Understand that control mechanism, whatever we have, even to the best software that you buy, it is not 100%. Even in physical exam in the hall, every Senate or every UC assessment board, we also discuss about students cheating in the hall. They still bring in, even it's physical. Okay, so it is, but of course, chances are very, very low because there is proctoring by the lecturers. Okay. 2, types of assessment. You can do a take-home assessment. This is now even in UOW. It is very popular. A take-home assessment, it is like your assignment. Okay, replace final exam with assignment. You can replace it with 2. You need to justify it, see whether is it feasible or not. Okay, mathematics, no lah, maybe not mathematics. Mathematics, you still need them to do. Okay, or it can be a time assessment. Time assessment means even it's virtual, you use exam.net, it is time 45 minutes they do in front. Okay, it could be a video like this, then you can see them doing or something like that. So it could be short question, long question, MCQ, or whatnot. Many different kinds of time assessments. Okay. Now, types of assessment, short, long, and MCQ. Now, basic practice. This is basic practice. It is not fixed in stone. Short answer question between 2 to 3 paragraphs, 2 to 3 points, 10 to 15 minutes each question. Okay. Long answer question, 35 to 45 minutes. Okay. Multiple choice questions. It should normally take 0.75 to 1.5 minutes per question. Marks per question is 0.5 to 0.75. Why got 0.75? Some mathematics question, it has been evaluated. Mathematics got multiple choice also. Got, huh? Wow. Some of them is really, really in-depth. For you to get the correct answer, you will need to really go through one. All right, really need to go through. So the reward can be that 0.75. Okay. Not normal practice. No, it is not done that it is 1 mark to 1 question. No. Okay. When I say 1 mark here is 1 actual mark lah. Okay. So this is how it is. Just basic practice. This is just basic practice that it should give you a little bit of a hint. Of course, like of these short answer questions, it could be even less. It could be like 8 minutes. So you should expect what is required or expected from the student itself. Questions? Exam.net, then they will do immediately inside there. Okay. Now, assessment timing. All right, this is preferred. This is how it should be. Not to have assessment over an hour. It has found out, literature has shown because you're doing online assessment, online itself, the longer you take, the higher chance of failure, okay, or something happening, a higher chance. All right, like anything else lah, but higher chance for online assessments. Online assessments are like that. Okay, so not longer than an hour. Also, you have to understand that doing online assessments, it is challenging. All right, it's challenging. Later I'll speak about that. Okay, maybe I'll touch a little bit, especially on the keying in, writing answers using by typing. Okay, it goes to it's similar to the other way. If we have been doing typing and then your exams are written, it's challenging. If you have never done written assessments using, written exams using typing itself, you want to practice that in class first before you give it as a surprise in the final exam. Okay, guys, your exam is online. Yes, everything is be typed because students' dexterity on that may not be as good. So you want them to practice the process of doing it. Okay. For 2-hour assessments, have 2 times 1 hour assessments. So if you're doing a 2-hour assessment, break it down. You can have 2 or 3 different smaller assessments. Okay. Online, maybe 1 in the morning, 1 in late morning, and 1 in the afternoon. Break it down into 3. All right. It reduces failure rate. Reduces failure rate at one go itself. And if there's any hiccups that happen one time, the solving the issue is only that component, not the full component itself. Okay. Now, reduces chances of students to cheat also. Should be time for students who know the materials to answer questions without looking up answers online or notes. Less chance for technical errors. Now, what has happened is if you use software like exam.net, the one that we have, there are a lot of control mechanisms inside there that I find has been quite effective. All right, has been quite effective. At the tool that we have purchased, it is actually quite good, okay, to achieve the goal that we intend to. Okay, a few trial inclusive of him, right? Yes, Baki, you're correct. You must try, you must constantly test. Never use exam.net the first time in your final assessment. No, students need to practice, need to know how the whole template is, need to understand that they need to copy the unique code, then they need to go into the screen. The students will need to understand that at the end of the day, when they escape, their screen will be frozen. And those are all control mechanism. Okay, so these things are important. Okay. Suggest methods to discourage academic dishonesty. So these are certain suggested methods to discourage academic dishonesty in the students. One is the randomize the question, which the software can do. You can randomize question so that sometimes your students ask their friend, even message, hey, question number 5, they ask this, what? The friend may say, hey, my question number 5 is different. So the students, yeah, different. So, next. Next, have a pool of exam questions, have different set for different groups of students. Also possible. Same level of questions, have a pool. As remember, I explained to you, you have different groups of students. You may give them different questions at the same level. However, a caveat over here, this needs to be done properly, very, very properly, and because you need to make sure every question is of the same level and quality. Okay, you cannot have certain questions at different quality and level. Then certain groups of students maybe, questions will be easier, certain questions will be much harder for you. Cannot. Okay, now for this, let me explain to you. Literature states you put in pool. Now, what we do is like this. For those of you who want to practice, let me just guide you a little bit here. We have level, we have low, medium, high. I'm setting for my degree student. Because I'm setting for my degree student, I'm going to cover low and medium, example, and a bit of high, low, medium, high. Low, 30%, medium, 60%, high, 10%. I need to put in this bucket or this group in the low, all the low questions. I need to put in the medium, all the medium level questions. I need to put in the high, all the high questions. Then what we'll do is, let's say I want 3 sets of exam paper. I will randomize, pick from low, medium, and high, at the same level for all three. Let's say I need to pick 2 questions from low, randomize, pick 2 from low, 3 from medium, and 1 from high. So these 3, all of these components come in, it is called set A. Set B, randomize again. You see what I'm saying? Okay, 2 ways of looking at it. Certain literature say you can put back questions into the pool. Put back questions into pool means if set A, question 1 of low has been selected, it can be selected again in question B by random. Okay, by random. So the pool maintains its equal number. So it is not wrong. Now, certain people practice is once that one has been taken out, it is not then put back in again. So paper B is taken, take a new number, a new question. Understand, guys? Now, this, I'm not saying this is paper A, paper B as what we are doing now. Set A, set B. It's not set A, set B, you know. It is set A, but we have 3 set A's. 3 set A's, you know. All right. A lot of work. All right. A lot of work. Good mechanism, but a lot of work. Okay. So this is one method of looking at it. That is called having a pool. And you can have 3 proctors. Proctor A, Proctor B, Proctor C. All same level. All same level. Okay. Very good. Now, for some of you who have been teaching for many years, I bet you your pool of questions already beratus-ratusan already, you know. Okay. Example. Every SEM, you set exam paper. Paper A, paper B. Paper A, you already have 8 questions. Paper B, another 8 questions. That is already 16. And this I'm giving a very low example. All right. So you may have it for 4 or 5 different sets. 16 times 5, you're already getting 80 questions already. It doesn't mean 80 topics is question. Same topic 4 on marketing mix, you can have 3 different questions, no issue one. Different way it is written. Okay, but same level. Okay, so this is what it means. Big universities, they have this. They have this pool. Then after that, they have, then this is kept in an archive. This is kept in a vault. Sorry, not archive, it's like a vault. You can actually pick accordingly. All right. Something I was planning to do, but I was thinking, no lah, it was going to stress out my colleagues too much. Later lah, maybe later when there's more technology or ways of looking into this can be very good. When you want to set your question, press a button, randomize, tuk, 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 kok sudah keluar. Yeah, because you already put them in different baskets already. How many of you want to take on this project to create something like that? Okay. See, the problem with me is sometimes the various literature that you read, you have ideas, you know, oh, this is good, but then of course, different institution, different aspects of it. So it may not be totally feasible for institutions like us, all right? But that is one area lah. Next, stringent time limits, short time limits, very, very tight on the timing itself, okay? The fourth one is something that is being practiced by certain institutions. It is called pacing. Pacing is called presenting questions one at a time. Start. You may not use exam.net. Exam.net may not be able to cater for this. But you launch question 1, go. Then after that, you give them 5-10 minutes. But question 2 comes out. Then question 3. Okay, as it goes out itself. Okay, it is like using a what do you call that? A PowerPoint slide. Press one, come out, then the next one, then the next one, and so on. This is called pacing. Pacing allows for a tool. It is a method to discourage academic dishonesty also, right? And questions should not reward recall. Of course, the recall part or the knowledge part should not be rewarded. So students who just recall, you should not reward that. You should only reward the application side of it. So these are certain suggested methods that are available. All right. However, it is not foolproof. There are various different other methods, but this can be a good guide if you are looking into methods of assessment that it is quite feasible for your own usage. Okay. So how do you set exam questions? Setting exam questions should have certain key components lah. So for me, I always write verb, content, context. Verb, content, context. So is discuss, market penetration, choice, plus economic crisis. Must be something. Now, the word discuss alone, no meaning. Market penetration choices is knowledge. They read the literature, they just regurgitate. Oh, in the textbook got 5 market penetration choices. Got 5, so I just regurgitate, try 5 lah. But now you need to discuss market penetration choices in a particular scenario during the Malaysian economic crisis, or discuss 3 market penetration choices in the Malaysian economic crisis. There must be a context over there. So basically, here generally it is similar to what I say. Apply your knowledge of anatomy and basic functions to identify abnormalities in clinical scenarios. Same thing, all right? However, in literature, they have this thing, clarity. Clarity is the whole thing lah. Make sure it is clear, all right? So when we set exam questions for our student, also follow this lah. Also follow this. Verb, they use context and content, all right? Okay, same lah, okay? So all of this will be under the clarity of it must be in there also, okay? Now, when we do, sometimes we, at lower levels, okay, if it is face-to-face written, many a times it is just discuss market penetration choices, okay? Now, traditionally, it is acceptable because it is proctored. Students need to recall, which is true. At lower level, you need to recall. You need to recall, okay? Now, but in the online aspect, if proctoring is not strong, or there is no clear mechanism, then you cannot just ask them to recall. There must be the aspect of the context over there. Understand these guys? That context aspect should be there. Okay, so when you set your exam questions, when you set your assessment questions, please ensure that this is adhered to lah. And by doing so, you reduce the chances of students just regurgitating, because you will then reward them on their application of knowledge itself. All right? Boleh, guys? So far, we have seen some exam questions or assessment questions. It has been practiced, I would say it has been practiced, but some schools still quite strong on this, because they still say at low levels game, we ask them to apply, susah lah, you know, they cannot apply, they can't even, some of them don't even understand what is discussed properly. You want them to apply, and then it's going to be a big challenge. Yes, I see that, but due to the situation, and if the control mechanism is not there, we have not much of a choice. But eventually, if all those control mechanisms are there and more stringent, then maybe we can then be allowed for in a more flexible nature to the setting of the questions itself. Okay? So, regulations to state as a guide for assessment. So these are certain regulation. Now, this one I took from online. This one I took from a source, a person who writes about exam, which I find is quite interesting. All right, I need to acknowledge him. Okay, emphasize on academic honesty. Most of your students are honest. I like that. You see, actually, kebanyakan of our students are baik, orang baik. They are honest. They are good people. But we just have to emphasize on the guys. We have to honest. We work on the honor code. Honor code. Give a similarity index percentage threshold. So basically, we tell the students, all assessments over here goes through Turnitin, and there is this 20% threshold. Now, what happens then? The instructor reserves the right to ask the students to resubmit. So basically, what does breaching? Now, guys, always remember, Turnitin is a tool that evaluates similarity. It doesn't evaluate cheating. All right, similarity doesn't mean cheating. Similarity is just a highlight or a clue, a red light to tell us that there is high similarity of these students' work with literature that is already available. It tells you that only, okay? Now, it is then your duty to investigate further, okay? Having 30-40% doesn't mean student cheating. It doesn't mean students plagiarizing. It could be just the way the person writes sometimes. All right. So it is for you to then investigate further and to see how it is. It is our right to investigate further, not immediately pinpoint that the student is cheating. Okay. So we investigate further. If after investigating further and it's been identified that student is cheating, very clear cut, words for word and so on, then the evidence is then shown to the student and action can be taken. All right. Okay. So this is what it is. Statements, you can already tell the student, okay, student, this is what's going to happen. All of you do your exam. We're going to submit it in. After they go through what's going to happen and whatnot. Check if the questions you plan to use are available online. Now, students are very, 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 very resourceful. Because for those of you who are teaching subjects, like say marketing or whatever, that it is very difficult to go out from the just Kotler book. Let's say Kotler, you know, it's a popular marketing book. You know, the book is used by many, many different institutions. Okay, many different schools, many different universities. A lot of the questions are very similar because those chapters are already there. Okay, so you need to be cautious when you take questions online because I can bet you our students are very resourceful. Our students are brilliant. They will already go online and start looking at questions already. They will start checking questions. They will start doing research, which I encourage. I tell the students, go lah. Mr. Gabriel's question could be online one. You just go and check. So they work, you know, they work, they do research, they do studying, they read the questions. Once you read the questions, you actually need to know the answer. You read the answer. So you learn. Okay, but of course, we don't do that lah. We have to make sure theory is the same. Theory don't change. Okay. However, the way that you structure the question, the scenario should be unique or must be unique. Okay, must be unique. Using guides online, model questions given by the publisher is good, is fine. Use it as a guide. Scenario must be your own. All right, you need to do that. And my advice is always try to put scenarios that offer local context that is discussed in class. So it becomes unique. Your question becomes unique to your situation. Okay. It can be also situation based on KDU. Based on situation. What kind of marketing? I love to do that. You know, previously when I used to teach marketing, I use examples that we as an institution, who are our target market and this and that. Because in class, when I explain to students in marketing, I use our organization as an example. So they know the situation. So how do they relate that into applying certain key concepts? Okay. As a backup measure, if there is material disagreement about how the student was assessed, you can create an assessment for the student to take as an in-class exam. Now, this can be done. Okay, example, let's say we do an online assessment, and then at the end of the day, we already tell the student if there's anything that that is questionable, we can actually call you back to do a physical exam for certain students because we find that there is a high percentage and so on. This one needs to be agreed at your school, and it needs to be communicated to the student. Okay, but I don't foresee this happening that bad already because from next semester onwards, I've been hearing from many of the heads they say that most of their fundamental courses they want to do physical exam. So fine, fundamental courses are the ones that have the most problem. Fundamental, higher level not much of a problem master's level actually degree year 3 master's level and so on. The expectation of the student is so low on knowledge, more on application and synthesis, that online reports, assessments, exams are actually very, very, very possible. Very possible. Okay. Number 8, when setting online assessments, lecturer's perspective from us, we are interested in testing what students have understood. We are testing what students have understood, not what they have been able to memorize in a few days of frantic revision. Okay, so we want to assess what students understand. All right, so it's the application. Don't just give questions for them to regurgitate. And 2, assessment must encourage learning that targets understanding. Your assessment, you must tell your students, all my assessment, don't just memorize the theory. You need to understand the theory because you need to apply the theory. If you cannot apply the theory, you get no marks. If you just write the theory, you get no marks. Okay, you cannot apply, you get no marks. Only when you apply, you get marks. So when students understand that, then it will encourage their learning. Then they will know, oi, Mr. Gabriel's class, no point just memorizing the 7 P's. No point understanding the fundamentals of, the characteristics of service. No point. We need to understand and apply. So that is how they will start thinking. They will start thinking. When taking online assessments, this is students' perspective. On a student's perspective, the lecturer knows that you have your notes and text right in front of you. So it is unlikely to ask questions that just call on you to copy information. So this is a student's perspective. So in the student's perspective, they should understand that the lecturer knows their notes is next to them. We assume that their notes are next to them. So I will never reward on just giving the knowledge part of it. Okay. All right. No, I'm not killer. Okay. This is gone through numerous years of fun times with students. Instead, online assessment tend to ask students to apply, analyze, synthesize, compare, contrast, or evaluate information. Okay. They test, online assessment test whether you understand the big picture of the course and how course concepts work together. That is what is important. All right. For example, you might be given a problem or a scenario and asked to apply concepts from several parts of the courses to it to develop an answer. It is okay. Use different topics to answer one question. That is why we have case studies. I like case studies. You put case studies inside. You can even give students to read case studies at home. Come up with an article. All right, give case studies. Let them read. Go back. And then after your exam question is based on the case study. It's normal, guys. Prior reading is normal. Then students can have the case study next to them. Okay? Then you question them on that. They do not know the question, but they know the case study. Okay? The instructor will be looking for well-structured and presented arguments or solution, and the assessment is likely to be more challenging than others, and the instructor is likely to have higher expectation. Yes, for us, if it is we know it's an open book assessment, so our expectation of the student is also there. We know the student got the notes next to them. Okay, so we won't reward that. So we expect students to apply, and you tell that to the student. You tell that, hey guys, you need to apply. That is what is important. All right. Then marking online assessments. This is the final stage, the final physical stage of doing the work. Reward the application of concept content in relation to context. All right. So we reward the application of the concept and content to the context itself. All right. Do not reward or minimal reward description of concepts and content. The description, what is the characteristics of service? Inseparability, perishability, tangibility, and so on. This one is concepts. You don't reward or you reward minimal. Very kecil. Very sikit only. Alright, lower level you reward sikit lah. Okay lah. Student can copy well also lah. Sikit, very low. Okay. So that is what needs to be done when you are doing the marking aspect of it. Marking online assessments. Okay, so once this is in already, and I can bet you our students are so biasa for the past 24 months already, they have been doing this. Okay, they have been doing this, and in their mind, they already know the flow. They already know the flow. This is how it is. This is how it is. So even now they have been nurtured not only to regurgitate but to think, and this is positive, guys. This is positive. We always been complaining. Don't say we lah. I do not want to blanket all of you. I have always been complaining that sometimes our students don't think enough. All right. And then we always say Malaysian graduates are not competitive because they don't think. Maybe this MCO has changed the whole field. They have now thinking. They are thinking more because of the whole change of assessment. 3 to 5 years down the road, maybe the employers will have a different perception of local graduates. Okay, and this is what we want to achieve through our effective and efficient use of assessments. So the final stage here, when we look into setting online assessment, is this: review online assessments effectiveness. You want to close the loop. You do. At the end, baik ke tak baik? Baik, we continue, we adjust. Tak baik, we tukar. Okay, this is how it is. Okay, and if this practice is constantly being applied by every one of us, we can be sure that our students' validity on their final assessment is good, is high, and it clearly will state that this student has achieved this particular learning outcome. And you can be proud, and you can actually say, this student Ali is a 75. He is a 75. He is an above average student. That is what an assessment should tell you. Okay, that is what it is. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, kita sudah reach at the end of our journey. So what we have done today, we have done these two key things. All right. We have differentiated between the formative and summative assessment part, which I always want to emphasize on its importance. Okay. Please continue practicing the formative part. Not only practicing, but practicing it well. Okay. Practicing it well, practicing it effectively on a constant basis, because this good, strong formative assessment and feedback is the one that will drive good summative feedback assessment in your student, because students need to know where they stand. Okay, so that is very important. And then we also identify issues in online assessments. We need to understand, we need to be clear, whatever tools we use, it can reduce uncertainty, but it doesn't eliminate uncertainty. I'm still coming up with, I think of if there anything can eliminate and the best assessment tool and method to be used in an online environment, on an online universe. No, there is not. There is none yet. Okay? Because there is none yet, we need to accept the fact that if a student is doing an online assessment, and even though we're using a tool like exam.net, Procteria, exam.com, and so on, there's so many different softwares in the market, we need to accept that a big chance this will be treated like an open book exam. All right, like an open book exam. And by us treating it in that way, we will then structure the questions to not reward regurgitation, but we will then reward application. All right, guys. Any questions? Ada soalan? Tuan-tuan dan puan-puan?
Yeah, Phil.
Ah.
It's actually regarding the remember that we mentioned some that we can actually ask to the external lecturer to do the vetting for us.
Cross school. What I'm saying, cross school.
Correct. Do we have any special procedures, or we have to go for a certain approval for that? Because
no need. Okay. Sorry, I breaking up a little bit. Sorry, you're saying?
I was asking, is that do we have any certain like procedure to go through, like asking for certain approval? I mean, like the black and white thingy, because some certain topics, or sometimes we also scared of the questions has been leaked out, or there's something like, although we say knowledge is about sharing, right? But we still like the questions that we set the standards, and something about the PNC thing. So actually I have questions about that.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Bagi. Now, what I mean is like this. I give an example. Mathematics. Engineering school does mathematics. Okay. Maybe just say, for example, there's one particular topic on mathematics which is done by one lecturer. Okay. And the lecturer teaches it. So when the lecturer sets exam paper in engineering school, as an example, nobody has the expertise to vet. However, in social science or science school, there could be a lecturer that can vet it. Not science, creative, computing school. So we can have inter-school assistance. You speak to your head of school, because during the vetting process should in the proper way only be done by subject experts. We call them subject experts in the kumpulan. So if this role of appointing or sourcing is actually the role of the PL and above lah. So if you are the PL, then you should start opening your eyes and looking for who can help on this lah. Very important, because what we have seen is sometimes vetting is done by people who are not subject experts. That is why got conflict. That is why got conflict. So that is it. That is how it should be looked into lah. I hope I answers your question. I am not looking at external. I'm not looking at Taylor's vetting for us. Not looking at Taylor's vetting for us. I'm looking at our own. Look at internally. Internally means every different aspect. I can also look into our sister institution. Penang can look at UG. UG can look at Penang. This is possible because I believe all of us have already signed a letter to say we do cross-campus teaching.
So that means it's actually is more like intra rather than inter because
yes.
About my understanding is I asked another nursing school's lecturer to actually vet my papers. So that's why some things that is actually
okay. That one unless now that's a good question. If really none of anybody can do it, nobody, then that is where we have the external assessor to look.
Okay.
Now that is our like the final straw lah, the external assessor. And external assessor, every school will have one or two external assessor by program. They then can be the final person. They can be the one to actually do vetting if there's no expertise. Okay. It's the same thing lah. Those of you who teaching account, if you want to be guaranteed, okay, ask me to vet. I know nothing about accounts.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no worries. All right. Any other questions, guys? All right. Feel free, if there are any, feel free to give me a buzz anytime. Drop me a mail. If you want to come into my office, those of you in UG, just drop by. We can always chat on this. With that, I would like to say thank you very much for your time. Yes, thank you very much for your time, for your effort. For some of you who are taking leave, I know quite a bit of my colleagues are taking leave on Monday. It is going to be a long weekend. Enjoy your weekend. All of you deserve it. I know you guys are tired. I know you guys are stressed. It's because it has been a challenging semester. Take care and all the very best and thank you. All right. Bye-bye.